The
You can start, Mr. Chairman.
okay. Well, I just had to listen. I'm going to call the zoning board of appeals for the town of Watertown to call the meeting to order. I will do the roll call. Rick Sarandria here, Phil Rogers, Ned Dalton, Vincent Gianetto, Roger Mitchell. Roger, are you here?
He's here, yes.
He didn't answer. Gary Swingle. Gary, are you here?
Here.
Jeff Franson,
Yeah, I'm here, Rick.
Marie Genovese. Okay, I'm gonna start out by first.
Can you hear me now, Rick?
Yeah, I could hear you.
Okay, for some reason, they said the host muted me.
Oh, okay, I'm gonna start off by first reading the web virtual meeting regulations and procedures.
Mr.
This
Chairman,
session-
do you want to seat some of the alternate members
You
first?
know, yeah, sure, I could do that. Okay, Jeff will be sitting in for Phil Rogers, and Gary will be sitting in for Vin Gianetto. Okay. This session is being recorded both video and audio. Mark Basad, the land use administrator, and Michael Simmons, the town's IT director, will be the meeting administrators, which they're not here. Anyway,
Mike Seaman is here.
I know Mike's here, but what do you call it's not here? Mark's not here. A link to the video audio will be posted to the town's website. Most people attending this meeting will be muted. The commissioners and staff will not be muted, however, in order to minimize disruptive audio feedback. All participants shall keep themselves on mute until ready to speak. Individual will be unmuted at the time they are recognized to ask a question or make a presentation. Presentations may be made by applicants and their agents when appropriate and permitted by the commission. Other attendees will be permitted to speak only during the public hearing portion of the meeting. Commissioners and staff will generally be keeping video of themselves on throughout the meeting, unless they are attended via telephone only. Applicants and members of the public should feel free to leave their video on or off. However, they will be asked to turn on their video when speaking. A picture tells 1,000 words and can be useful in conveying your meaning. If video is not available for you, you will not be precluded from speaking or providing public testimony. During public hearings, individuals desiring to speak will be asked to state their name and give their home address. We will read the public hearings rules at the start of the first public hearing, at the start of the public hearing meeting. Please use the chat feature or raise your hand feature for the meeting administrators to know that you're raising your hand to speak. If an applicant or agent needs to submit additional documents to the commission, which is not distributed in advance of the meeting with the rest of the materials, the application will be continued to the next meeting so that the new documents can be made available to the public. Members of the public may only speak during a public hearing. If a member of the public speaks outside of the public hearing or creates an audio or video disruption, they may be manually ejected from the meeting upon recommendation of the meeting administrator or the chair. Okay. Okay. Next, I will read the zoning board of appeals ground rules for the public hearing. The applicant or his representative will make his formal presentation to the board, stating his specific hardship and precisely why this merits a variance from the zoning regulations of the town of Watertown. All comments, discussions, and observations shall be made through the chair after proper recognition by the chairman. This is necessary to ensure that only one person at a time speaks on any issue, thus making it easier for everyone to understand and for a clear or legal transcription. All persons addressing the commission shall begin by first clearly stating their name and address for the record. If necessary, the person may be asked to spell his or her name for the record. Following the presentation of the application, the zoning board of appeals will ask specific questions of the applicant. After the board has asked its questions of the applicant, I should then allow members of the public who wish to speak either in favor of this application or against it to address the board. I shall then allow the applicant to respond to the comments of the members of the general public. I shall then allow any members of the general public who wish to present any additional information or clarifying discussion to do so at that time. I shall then provide an opportunity for the applicant to respond to these additional remarks if he or his representative so wishes. The zoning board of appeals has 35 days from the date the public hearing commences to complete the public hearing. The board may ask the applicant for 35-day extension of the public hearing period if the board requires any additional information or wishes to schedule a site walk to observe the situation for themselves. The zoning board of appeals has 65 days from the date when the public hearing closes to render its decision. The board may or may not make its decision tonight at its regular meeting following the public hearing. You may stay for the regular meeting if you wish, or you may leave at the end of the public hearing and contact the zoning office the following morning to determine the status of your application. Okay. All right, we have here, first thing on the agenda is election of officers, but we don't have a full board and alternates can't vote on officers, so we're gonna have to, can I get a motion to table that till next month?
Table that until next month for the
The election of officers.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Public hearing, continuation of a public hearing from April 28th, 2021 for applicant number 2021-3 of Matthew and Jessica Lemos for a variance of 15 feet to a front yard property line setback for construction of a 28-foot by 10-inch and a 28-foot by 28 attached garage, new mudroom and new porch to be located 20 feet from a front yard property line at 103 Jenks Street, Oakville, Connecticut, in an R12.5 residential zoning district. Is there anyone here to represent the applicant?
Mike, Jessica Lemos should be allowed.
Okay, we'll let Jessica talk.
Thank you.
Yep.
Yep. Are you guys able to see me?
No,
So I'm not sure why you can't. Could you at least hear me?
Yes.
oh yeah, we can hear you. No
Okay.
problem there.
Sorry about that. It looks like something on your end doesn't give me the option to turn my camera on.
Try that. Go ahead, try that.
Okay.
Jessica.
All right.
No, still can't see you.
That's fine.
Okay, can we, is it
Okay.
all right if we continue
Yeah,
this?
go ahead. Go ahead. State your case, you know. Tell us again, so we got it on the record. What your hardship is and what you're planning on doing over at your property.
So we are requesting a variance to build an attached garage to our home. Our hardship is the size of our lot and that we have 2 fronts of property, which requires us to have 2 areas that have a 35-foot setback. In addition to that, we were also made aware that our driveway, because we're on the corner, our driveway needs to be 60 feet from the corner, which also requires, is a hardship because of how small our property is and where it's located. The only place for us to put a driveway is really in this one location in order to build our garage.
Okay, did everybody get a chance to go look at this?
Yes, yes.
Okay, do you guys have any questions for the applicant?
So I only want to add the additional drawings that we got with the packet this time was very, very helpful. And it was very clear when I went to the location to understand what the applicant is looking to accomplish.
Great, thank you.
I'm not sure just as clear, though. I have a question or two. Musa may have to answer it as well. The variance is for the, in a sense, what side of your house that we're gonna call the front of your house? That is correct. Are you also asking for the variance on the left side of the garage or no?
Yes, for a 5-foot variance.
Well, I need to, it's not clear to me what and you may not be able to answer, it's not clear to me what the actual variance is being asked for, technically.
So because it's our side of property and it's a attached structure, the current zoning regulation is that we are to be 10 feet from the side property, and we're asking for a variance of 5 feet
5 feet, okay. And 15 feet on
the front.
okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else have any questions? Roger?
None that I
Yeah.
can think of.
How about you, Jeff?
No, I'm all set, Rick. Thank you very much.
Yep. Musa, you have anything you'd like to add?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, after that, I did some research on this application. I found out that, first of all, it's a corner lot, and I agree with the property owner that they have a hardship because for a corner lot, there are 2 front setback requirements. If they had only one street, like Cobb Street was the front, then from the other side, they needed only 10 feet. I'm 100% agree with them that they need a variance of 15 feet from Jenks Street in order to build this garage. But on the other side of the sightline property, they had a variance that was issued to them a long time ago for a deck. And because it's a corner lot, the property owner has a choice to pick and choose that which side is the sight line and which side is the rear property line. The side that they are putting the garage, if they treat that as a sight line, the setback requirement is 10 feet. They already have a variance of 3.4 feet for the deck. And if they can move their garage only 2 feet, they don't need a variance because that will meet the 10-foot sideline setback requirements. But if you treat that as a rear property line, then the setback requirement is 30 feet. I think they have the right to choose that as a sight line. And then if they move the garage only 2 feet, they will be able to build it. Actually, even less than 2 feet, 1.6 feet. If they make the garage shorter, they don't need a variance for that site. And you can grant the variance for the front property line on Jenks Street.
I'm sorry, I have a question. Is it not possible to request a variance in both locations? That's why we were continued from last month to specifically request this additional variance.
Well, you were continued so that we could come out and look at it too. That's the big reason why you were continued. So we can have a chance to examine the property ourselves in person. But I mean, would you be able to move that garage a little bit, a foot and a half? See, because what we'd like to do is if it's unnecessary, because that stays on your property line, property deed. So I mean, if there's any way that we'll give you that other grant, pretty much, I think you get the other variance, but if you could take that foot and a half off or move a foot and a half, you'll be all set.
So I guess my concern is which I shared with the board and with Musa. Our concern is due to a stairwell that we have that is going to become enclosed into our garage. We worked with builders and architects to determine, we didn't create the dimensions. They were created based upon you know, what we currently have as a structure so we can tie it into our property. And, you know, if that's what the board is only willing to allow us, I would have liked to have had that information to go back prior to this meeting. So I could have talked with our architect and talked with our builder to say, you know, if we move something by 2 feet, does that still give us the ability to put the appropriate safety railing that is required for the inside of the property? Does it allow, you know, I don't know. It's hard for me to answer that question because you know, at this point, I don't have my architect and my builder with me.
Yeah. Yeah, I understand. Well, I mean, I hate,
But
to- I hate-
Musa, we could grant the variances as requested.
Yes, the 15-foot variance to the front property line setback. You can grant that tonight, yes.
Right. And the side variance as well.
No, if they reduce the size of this garage 1.6 foot, there is no need for a variance. I don't know how you can grant 2 variances on the same line for the same building. I mean,
Okay, so this is for the applicant, Musa, because
yes.
I'm looking at the drawing that she provided. So the 1 foot would be, it would actually make the garage narrower, not less deep.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
depth will be the same.
Stairs.
hold on a minute, man. Hold on a minute.
So I want, just so I want to make sure that, because the applicant talked a lot about the cellar stairs that are going down, and she's worried about that being impacted.
Right,
And from what you're telling, the way you're explaining it, Musa, is the 1 foot 6 inches would not impact that stairway. It would actually just impact the space, say, between the two garage doors.
Yeah, I mean, normally a 2-car garage that we issue permits all the time is a 24 by 24, which is a very good size 2-car garage. And this garage is 28 and 10 inches
Yeah.
wide. And
but
if they can reduce that's 1.6, 1 foot and 6 inches, I mean, I don't think, if they tell the architect that this is what we have, I'm sure that he will come out with a little change to the plan to accommodate their needs, yes.
the only problem is, I mean, it doesn't seem like a lot, but the only problem is you're driving 2 cars in. So if you took the 1.5 foot off, I don't know, probably should have looked at it better when we were there. That car to the face in the garage to the right would be going into the stairs. I think, I'm not sure.
Yes, and then also they said, you know, they have to put up a railing in order for, so that is correct, Chairman. And they also have to put up a railing to make sure that when the car drives in, there still needs to be clearance to open a door to be able to get out of the car or get around the car in a safe manner. So there was, in addition to just the actual width of the stairs, they had to add a little bit of room on the side. So it's not just the width of the stairs, it's the stairs plus some, so they could add in the appropriate indoor railing to that. So we meet safety, you know, standards and building codes. And that also we're able to actually not only just pull in the driveway, but then exit the vehicle without, you know, bumping into the railing or falling down the stairs.
Okay, I got a question for you. What's the inside dimensions of that garage right going to the wall of the house where the stairs are? What are the inside dimensions? Do you know? By any
Let me
chance?
look and see if I could identify that. So I don't have the exact inside dimension, and I'm sure I could maybe do a little bit of math, but what he does have where the railing needs to be added with the stairs. So the stairs and then the railing, we're taking 5 feet, and then the so it's 5 feet plus however the railing is going to be the width of the railing. So even if that's 5 feet 6 inches or something, the drawing, if you guys look at the drawing that was not the one from the external view, the one on the internal view. If you look where it says down the basement steps, you can see that there's a line drawn there with another measurement that's 5 feet. And then the railing that needs to be added is also listed there. So again, if we talk about a standard 24 foot wide garage, the 5 feet already makes it less than that 24 feet.
Well, that's what I'm getting at.
Yeah, she's got it right, Rick.
Yeah, that's what I was getting at. That's what I was saying. I mean, a foot and a half is a foot, it's a foot and a half, but you gotta be able to, you don't want the car driving into the stairs.
Exactly. You need the 24 feet, especially cars are so big.
Right. So. You got a problem. All right, does
Yeah.
anybody else have any? Go
The
ahead.
problem is that if you grant a variance for that site, because in the past, there was a variance granted to that, and at that time, they called it a rear property line. And then the actual variance will be 25 feet if we don't change it to a side property line. That is what I'm trying to do to avoid a variance, and at the same time, they can build their garage. But it's up to you. If we keep it the way it is, then they need a 25-foot variance from that side property line. It is a rear property line.
Musa, one other piece.
I was trying to make it easier for them that 25-foot variance is a large variance, to make it easy for them not to get another variance. With the variance that they already have, they can build their garage. That was my intention, but it is totally up to you, yes.
I appreciate that. I just want to also remind you that when the variance was requested, I actually have that paperwork upstairs. I want to say it was 1987 or 1988. And that was when when it was granted. That was when there was a different property. There was a different home on this piece of property. This is a modular home that was built. The home that was originally on this property was knocked down, and the house that is now sits on this property was moved to face the other road. The property used to face the other way. So that's why today, when you guys, the committee was out here taking a look and doing a site visit, you said, oh, you must not have built the deck. And it's not that the deck wasn't there. It was actually that was to when the house faced the other direction, there was a deck in the back that was now our side property over on the other side of the home. And so I'm hoping that if we're establishing this as our side property and requesting the 5-foot variance of the 10-foot regulation, that it's okay, because it's not a double variance. It's a variance on a different piece of the property, because this was not the house or the location of the house when that variance was requested.
The variance that was granted and filed with the town clerk office, that it stays with the property, no matter what. If they remove the house and put a new house, that variance still is in place. It doesn't disappear. That variance is still valid.
It was on a different line. So we're requesting it on this side property line. When it was originally on here, is now the rear property line. That's where the variance so that's why it's not a double variance of the same property line. It's a different property line that we're requesting the variance for.
Okay, could you hold on a minute? I got to make a little change here. I noticed Vin Gianetto. Vin, can you hear me?
I can hear you. I can't see you yet. Here I am.
Okay, I can see you. All right, so I'm gonna have to change some things around. Jeff, you were
Sure.
sitting in for Phil,
Yes.
and Gary, you were sitting in for Vinny. So the only change I'm gonna make is now that Vin's here, he's a permanent member. I'm gonna have you sit for Ned, Gary, because you were involved in this whole thing. So you'll sit in for Ned, and Jeff, you still will be sitting in for Phil.
That's fine. Thank
Okay.
you.
And make sure that you make a note that Mr. Gianetto came to the meeting at that time.
Vin Gianetto came in at 7:23.
Okay, Thank you.
Okay, go ahead,
Sorry for my
Jessica.
delay.
Go ahead, Jessica, continue. I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you. So yeah, so that's, I just want to clarify. I know that there was some concern about being able to establish a variance if there's already a variance on that side of the property. But to my knowledge, that was the rear deck, that was the house that was previously on this property. That's why you didn't see that it was needed at this time, because the house was in a completely different location and it was a completely different style house. So I'm hoping that this time wouldn't be considered a re-request of the same property line. That was on the north side of the property. We're requesting this to be our side property, which is the west side of our property, for the 5 feet.
Can we do that, Musa?
I'm not sure, Mr. Chairman.
Do you have anybody gonna start this project? What was your projected date to start this project?
So honestly, because we were at the last meeting, we were anticipating, like I said, I've been working with the town zoning office, and it, you know, based on my workings with them, I didn't realize that we would end up being pushed out or continued to the next meeting. So we actually, we have a foundation person, a builder, as well as a land, like a tree person, and they were all going to be able to start in May. Obviously, that's not the situation. We're trying to coordinate and collaborate with them, and looking to start sooner than later, if possible.
So, I mean, there's two things here that could happen. I mean, I think you'd be better served not to have that big variance on your property. If you could somehow maybe get a hold of your architect or something and talk to him about that garage space. But still, I even think if you take that off, it's not gonna, I don't think it's gonna work, but
Yeah, so could I just ask for some clarification when you said a big variance? So it's still the side property, which only has to, which is a 10 feet
10 feet.
zone regulation. And so we're requesting 5 feet because it's side of property, and side of property only requires 10 feet.
right. But according to what Moose is saying, if we grant it this way, it's, how are you coming up with 25 feet, Musa?
Oh, because that's the rear property line.
Right,
And the way that I was trying to do to avoid this variance and treat that as a side property line and change, because it's a corner lot, the property owner has the right to pick and choose
right.
which side is the rear, which side is the side. We can respect that. If they want to call this a side property line, then the setback will be changed from 30 feet to 10 feet. They already have a 3.4 foot variance, and they need only, if they move 1.6 foot this garage, make it narrower, they don't need a variance. That will cover them, because they already have 5 feet plus that 3.6 foot variance, that's 8.4. They need only 1.6 foot to move the garage. There is no need for a variance for that side anymore. But they say that they cannot do it. I mean, I'm
What
sure
do you
that there
think,
must
Ben?
be a way to do it. Yes.
What do you think, Van? Are you following us here at all?
Not totally yet.
No,
Okay, so I know I came in a little bit late, but
Right.
unfortunately I had a meeting too.
were you able to go
So-
see the site?
No, I did not.
Nah. I mean, no,
So
going
I
to see the
can't,
site, going to see the site answers a lot of questions.
Mr. Chair?
What's that?
Oh, Mr. Chair, it's Matt Lemos. How you doing?
Hey,
I
Matt.
just had a quick question, because, you know, what Musa is saying, that we are able to choose which one's the side. So where we're asking we would choose that to be the side, meaning that we would need a 5-foot variance. And if he's saying we already have a 3.4 foot variance, wouldn't we just need a 1.6 foot variance now? I mean, the concern is obviously, I guess that would be kind of a third hardship, basically where those stairs are, because of where it lies on the property of how we can get to a 24-foot garage. Going to an extra 1.6 feet down is going to be, we're talking probably 18 inches. That's going to reduce the garage to about 21 and a half feet wide. Because of the stairs being there. I don't know. I guess I'm just kind of confused on, how come we can't request the variance from go to 10 to 5 feet if we're able to choose, back inside.
That's a good question. You can do that and asking for 1.6 foot variance, but because that's not a part of your application, they cannot grant a variance if it was not requested.
Well, Musa, again, this is Matt Lemos. When we had spoken on the day of the meeting last month, you had talked to me about this, that you had noted that, we needed a second variance here. And that was, why this was going to get continued to the May month meeting, because the board, because of the way it was initially noted, wasn't going to be able to vote on the whole project. So that's why we're here on May 26th. So it should have been a variance for the front and the frontage property and the side property.
And that is part of the record of last month's meeting minutes.
You just made a good point, though. Musa,
Yeah,
we could lessen a variance.
I'm sorry?
We could make less of a variance, which he had a good point.
But
We'd
the
actually-
variance that they ask for, that is fine. The 15-foot variance, that is fine. But
Okay.
on the side, because I thought that maybe if we can treat that and reduce the size of the garage, there is no need for a variance. And that is our job, to minimum the number of variances that are granted for a property.
Okay, but what are they asking?
If we can avoid a variance and find a solution, that is the best way to do it. But if
But
there is
Musa,
no way, yes.
but Musa, in my mind, you had a whole month to sort of hash this out.
Yeah,
I mean, this seems, in my mind, this seems like a last minute surprise to everybody here a little bit.
yeah.
So that's why I think we need to figure out how to accommodate this applicant.
Yeah, because I mean, if they're gonna build it, well, why build this garage if you can't use it? Now, so could they ask for a 1.6 variance? That's not gonna change anything. That's
No,
for,
that will be the subject of another application then.
I don't understand that, because we have the authority to lessen a variance. Am I right, guys, or am I wrong here?
No, I don't think we're,
Make a variance less. Can't we?
This is a second variance. The variance that they asked for, we give it to them. You give it to them. This is a second variance.
Mr. Chair, if I may ask one more question.
Sure.
Again, this is Matt Lemos. I apologize that you're not able to
okay.
see it, but
That's okay.
the whole point of us being continued to this month's meeting was that secondary 5-foot variance. So it should have been on the agenda. Unfortunately, we don't create that, so I don't know what the issue was. But this was, if we go back and watch last month's Zoom meeting, we spoke about this in April, that there was a second one. And Musa, I think, even states to the fact
Yes,
that
and I said that I will advertise it for 25 foot.
Musa,
Yes, I agree.
Musa, the parameters of the meeting, I'm allowed my time to speak once given time by the
Right.
chair.
Go
So
ahead, Matt.
so if we go back and watch the Zoom from April, you mentioned that your office gave us the wrong information and that it was your suggestion to continue this to May and seek both variances.
Yes, I'm agree with you. That was that if I wanted to advertise, I was advertising for 25-foot variance, and it is my job to find a way to eliminate variances. And I find out this idea that we change the rear property line to side property line, we reduce the setback from 30 feet to 10 feet. And then if you give up a little bit of that garage, and then you don't need a variance. That was my solution.
I think the
And-
solution though isn't viable in that unless you are somebody who does, safety inspection and zoning laws and stuff on the inside property of somebody's home, we were told because of the depth and width of the staircase that currently exists in order to get into our basement, we needed, I didn't come up with 28 feet, 10 inches. That is a very, it's a very specific number. It's not a nice round number. The reason why that number is what it is because that is what was determined to be safe and then still be able to have a garage. So I know you're coming up with an alternative solution, but that wasn't provided to us by any builder or any architect, which we worked with multiple builders and architects. And that due to the fact that I know you're saying it's only 1 foot 6 inches, but that 1 foot 6 inches creates a situation where the whole side of our garage is not going to be usable for a car because we can't pull in because of the staircase, and even if we pull in, we wouldn't be able to exit the vehicle on that side because we would be right up against the railing.
Okay, I mean, if you argue that way, then you can have a 1-car garage. Just have a 1-car garage. You don't need a variance.
But you also, spoke with us today. I'm not sure why you told us that you weren't part of the committee and that you were just facilitating. So I'm not sure why, we're not letting the committee make a decision, and you are putting in a recommendation that when you were at my property today, you said that you were just there to sort of facilitate, and that it wasn't your role, that your role is not a voting member of the committee. So if we're requesting the additional 1.6 feet, and we, on record in last month's meeting, that was determined while we were continued to this month because your office needed to do that, why we're not able to let the committee move forward and vote on that?
Well, I don't know if I can make this suggestion. The other thing is they're going to add more impervious area to that lot. They're taking out the front driveway. I don't know if that makes any difference. And they're putting in a different driveway coming off another street. So I don't know if that, I mean, we're talking a 1.5 feet. Somehow we ought to be able to accommodate this. Let's put our thinking caps on, fellas. Do you follow what I'm saying? They're going to move the driveway where it is now. That's going to be grass. The new driveway is going to be on a side street. So actually they're flip-flopping. So, I mean.
I think that's highly desirable. The driveway is not safe where it is now, and I think moving it around
Right.
is highly appropriate.
Aesthetically and for safety, it is a better idea.
Absolutely.
There's also, I haven't heard from any neighbor, I don't know if there's anybody else on, but even from the last public hearing, there were no neighbors that were against this application as well. So, Musa, help us, what are our options to accommodate the applicant?
I mean, there are different ways to look at this. If you want to treat the way it is now, that line is rear property lines, they need a variance of 25 feet. And if you want to treat it as a sight line, they need a variance of 1.6 feet. But because it wasn't a part of the application, I thought that maybe this is the best solution.
So,
avoid the variance, give them what they want, and but they say that it doesn't work for them. I mean, there's nothing I can do.
So clarifying question, if it's a sideline property, they need 1.6 feet of variance, you said,
Yes.
and they've requested 5, correct?
No, they didn't request.
Yes, we
They
did.
requested 15 foot for the front property line.
And 5 feet from the side based on our meeting in April. That was on the
Hold on a
record
minute.
that
Hold
your
on.
office was gonna add.
Hold on
that
a minute, ma'am. Let Jeff, he's hitting on something here. Let Jeff speak. Let the commissioner speak.
So we're here to talk about 2, right? 2 variances, the 20-foot and the sideline 5-foot variance.
No, the 15 foot front property line, that is one variance.
Yeah.
And then now, if you treat that as a rear property line.
No. What,
Yeah.
the application, what I want to know with the
One
application.
variance.
No.
One variance. The
Only one
application is just
variance.
for one variance. 15-foot front property line setback on Jenks Street.
So my question is, when they came into the planning and zoning office, were they told they needed a sideline variance of 5 feet, for this garage? Because again, I look at the minutes, I look at the minutes from last meeting, and you had indicated there was an error, possibly an error in the office, where you first thought it was a detached garage, and then it was an attached garage.
Yeah, the
Okay,
information was given for a detached garage. They thought that they need only 5-foot setback. It wasn't a 5-foot variance.
Mr. Chair, this is Matt Lemos again, if I just may be able to respond to what Musa is saying.
Go ahead.
So on the day of the meeting of last month, Musa called me personally, and he had dealt with Jessica most of the time, and then he called me. It was about 4:15 in the afternoon, and he said, I just realized after looking at your property going out today, seeing that you would need a second variance of a 5-foot setback in the back property. Then we kind of talked through that. We went through the meeting kind of knowing that it wasn't going to get voted on, and hopefully we can get it continued to this month. So the whole premise of us kind of going over everything here, re-testifying for the record here, was on the 15-foot frontage setback, and as well as the side setback of 5 feet. The conversation I had to him, I asked him if we needed to send out any more letters or anything like that. And he said his office would take care of all of it. So this is kind of being blindsided here. And he also told me that he was going to work with me through the month. Nobody's ever called me. I called him last week to make sure everything was all set and asked if there was anything else we needed to do. And, I was kind of blindsided today when he was kind of, talking about that. And then we asked him if we needed an updated application. He said no.
Well, there's another way of getting around this. So actually, if you consider that sideline property as your back property, you're looking for, it's what, a 15-foot variance? So he's all set with that one. So all total, if you add that in 1.5 feet or it's 16. He's looking for 16 feet, a variance of 16.25 or 0.50. If you wanted to use the two of them, put the two of them together, the 1.5 feet and the 15 would come out to 16.25, I think, if I hit that right. So we're talking about a variance of 16 feet.
There are two different lines. You cannot do that. You cannot combine two variances into one.
Musa, is there a reason why the second variance was not added to the agenda or put in the newspaper once it was requested at last month?
Yes, because my job is to enforce the zoning regulations and find a solution to avoid variances. And I found a solution that by giving up 1.6 foot of that garage, there is no need for a variance, and I can enforce the zoning regulation the way it is.
and when did you talk to the applicant about that 1.6 feet and reducing the size of their garage? When did you talk to them about that?
Because I just figured out recently.
When is recently? A week ago?
Yeah,
An hour ago?
Probably
At 5
minutes
o'clock.
ago?
Yesterday, I found out.
No, at 5 o'clock today, when the committee was here at our house, is when we were blindsided with the information.
I have no more comments. I said what I have to say, and my job is to let you know what you can do, what you cannot do, what the regulations require, what we should do, what we shouldn't do. I leave it totally to you. And I have no more comments. I explain everything that I know.
Well, fellas, what do you think?
Well, I think we need to finish the public hearing and talk about it at the regular meeting.
Yeah, I think so too.
I'm clear on the circumstances after, at this point.
How about you, Jeff?
Yeah, I'm clear. I'm just besides myself, Rick, but
So am I.
I'm clear.
So am I. Roger?
Yeah, I can see what she's saying, but then I can see the other side too. I mean, she's losing space inside with the two stairways. So you got to move everything closer together. So you're having almost less than 24 feet inside, basically. But we still would have to get an approval for that, or she'd still get approval for the variance, or we can't do that at the meeting tonight, right?
I believe we can, actually. We can talk about that.
You think we can, once we close this hearing?
I think we have to, if there's a regulation that we're required to follow, we have to follow the regulation. Or, it is a variance or, we're kind of caught in the middle here.
Yeah, it's really not a good situation.
Follow the regulation or don't follow, or don't follow the regulation.
I think we have to follow the regulation, but I think we can provide the applicant with some feedback of what our thoughts are, should they come in with another application.
I'm not sure. I'm short here tonight. I don't have a copy of the statutes, but we have the power to vary. We don't have to grant variances exactly as granted. We have a power to vary them, and I think we do have that
What I
power.
said. That's what I said before, but we can't, I guess we can't grant or vary two different variances. But it's still on the same property and it's less of a variance. I mean, if we went with them changing the rear property to the side property, you're talking 25 feet. But if we went the way it is right now, it's 15 and a foot and a half, which is not a big variance. But I don't know if we could vote on that.
Well, I make a motion, we close the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Next application is application 2021-4 of Kyle Tilbur and Alice Forrester for a variance of 5 feet to a side yard property line setback for construction of a 19.5 by 12-foot addition to an existing deck at 182 Woodruff Avenue, Watertown, in an R10 residential zoning district. I guess I'm gonna have to read the, who did I put in for Ned?
You put Gary in.
Gary, do you have the legal notice? Gary? Hello?
Hey, Rick, I have it if you want me to read it.
Sure, go ahead, read the legal notice.
The Town of Watertown legal notice, the zoning board of appeals, the Town of Watertown will hold a public hearing at 7 p.m. on Wednesday, May 26th, as a web-based meeting to hear and act upon the following applications. Application 2021-4 of Kyle Silva and Alice Forrester for a variance of 5 feet to a side yard property line setback for the construction of a 19.5 foot by 12 foot addition to an existing deck to be located 5 feet from a side property line at 182 Woodruff Avenue in Watertown, Connecticut, in an R10 residential zoning district. Section 12.8 of the Watertown zoning regulations requires a minimum of 10 feet side yard setback for a principal building in an R10 residential zoning district.
That's R10.
R10, correct. At this hearing, interested persons and written communications will be heard. A copy of the application is on file in the Planning and Zoning Office, Watertown Municipal Center, 61 Echo Lake Road in Watertown. This was dated in Watertown on the 13th day as well as the 20th day of May 2021. Edwin Dalton, Secretary, Zoning Board of Appeals.
Is there anyone here to represent the applicant? Is there anyone here to represent the applicant? Alice? Kyle?
Was there?
I
She
see her.
was there.
Oh, there she is.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Okay. Are you here to represent your application?
That's correct. I'm sorry.
Can you state your name and address for the record?
Alice Forrester. It's about 182 Woodruff Avenue, Watertown. Give me 1 second.
Can't
Yes.
wait till we go in person.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Okay, do you want to state your hardship and what you're doing here on your property?
Yes, we're just building a deck in the back. We're just continuing. There is a small deck. We're gonna use those stairs. So we are just continuing flush with the house. And the length is up 19, which is the same length of the house, and by 12. So the house doesn't have any sections that my son could go with the kids for entertainment, to be outside. The front porch is very small. This house was a very old construction, so they don't have like an area, and that's what we're requesting.
So the deck is going to be the width of the existing house?
That is correct. That is
No-
correct.
No wider
No.
than the existing house?
No, not at all. It's gonna
Okay.
be the same.
And what is the size of the deck that is there, that is existing?
It's a very small deck. It's to the size of the house. I would say it's not bigger than 5 by 4, but I didn't measure that.
So
It's on the side. Yeah, it's
so
on the side.
So the deck comes out from the house 5 feet?
No, it's not gonna come out from the house, not at all. It's gonna be flush with the house.
No, I understand that, but you want a 19-foot deck, so you by 12, so you're gonna be coming out from the house 12 feet?
Yes, that is correct. From the house 12 feet. to
Right
the
now,
back.
your deck that you have now, how far is it coming out from the house?
It doesn't come, it comes to the side. It's come to the side of the house.
I'm confused.
I'm confused. You got a deck.
Yeah.
Okay, there's a deck there. Okay, so the deck, let's just say, is 6 feet long.
Yeah.
How far out from the house does it come so you can walk on it?
It's about maybe 4 feet, at the
Okay.
most 5, and then the
Okay.
stairs starts going down.
So you're gonna replace that with a 19-foot deck that's gonna come out from the house 12 feet.
No, we're not gonna replace that. We're gonna extend from there. I think I put it in the picture. Can you, do you see it in the picture? I provided the design. Do you see it?
Let me see.
Yeah, but there's a design showing a 19-foot by 12-foot deck.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And there's a 3D design that shows it protruding from the house, but I'm not sure where that,
do you see the stairs to the side? Did we make those drawings by hand?
What
Don't
does
see
this
that.
mean?
don't speak. Missing something here? Because I don't see that drawing
Yeah,
in our
no,
package.
I didn't see a drawing either, so.
Mr. Chairman,
Okay.
can I explain that to you to make it easier to understand?
Yeah, what'd you see over there, Musa?
If you look at the last page, there is a map of the property.
Yeah,
Can you see it, the color one?
Yeah,
In the back of the house, that corner, there is a little jog
yeah,
on the left side in the back. That is where the existing deck is. That is small, that tiny. They want to add a deck to the back of the house, the same width of the house. It's not getting closer to the property lines on the sides because the house is already 5 feet from the property line. And this deck will be 5 feet from the property line.
I see.
yeah, but
so there must be a
coming out
door,
12 feet. Go ahead, Ben.
there must be a door currently on
There
that
is a
little
door,
deck.
yeah, there is a door from the house into that small
The
deck.
back door.
Yes,
Okay.
and they want to add to that deck that they be able to sit on it, because
Yeah.
if you open the door from the house, there is no room on that small deck to even to sit one person. They
Yeah.
just want to have a deck in the back of the house to be able to sit.
Yeah.
So that's an elevated deck as well. Drawing
Right.
appears.
Gonna be just a deck or is that an exit too? There gonna be stairs going to the ground or is that
The
Just a-
stairs are already there.
other steps? Okay.
Yeah, we're gonna use those stairs. That's why we want to extend that little deck so we could utilize those stairs.
Oh,
The existing small deck has stairs existing. They will
Mhm.
use those stairs. They just want to have more space on the deck to just sit down.
Yeah.
Right, well, the point I'm getting at, that coming out 12 feet is not gonna change any of their setbacks?
No, not from the back, because they have
No.
plenty of space in the back. From the
Okay.
Yeah.
side, it will be the same.
Well, I
Yeah.
can't see the property, but, okay, that's what I was concerned with.
So then what's
Yeah, no,
the,
that section is not gonna interfere because he has a lot of property. There's a lot of property to the back, a lot. We're only
Okay,
gonna use 12, but there's a lot there. I would say like 60.
There's a 5 foot, they already had, they're 5 foot from the property line currently, correct?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So the
That's
deck
correct.
will be 5 foot from the property line as well.
The new deck will be 5 feet from the property line too.
So it'll match the house. Okay.
okay. All right,
I get
any
it.
questions? Any other questions?
No, that helped. Thank you, Musa.
This gonna be flush with the house going straight back then.
Yes.
All right. Is there anyone from the public wishes, you guys all set?
Rick?
Yeah.
This deck is gonna be just flush with the sides of the house going back then.
Yes, it's gonna
Yeah.
flush to the house towards the back, but we're gonna add that little entrance to the side, right? So that section is not gonna be flush. That's gonna be flush with the existing deck.
It's not gonna hang out past the sides of the house. If you're looking down the side of the house, you're not gonna see the deck.
Nope, you're not gonna see the deck at all
Okay, that
from
was,
any size of the house. We already discussed that with the oh my God, the historic district.
Mr. Chairman, just for your information, this property is located in the historic district.
Right.
And she went to them and they said because the deck is not visible from the road, they
Yeah.
don't need an approval from the historic
I'm
district.
on,
Yeah,
I'm
It will
on,
be only at the back of the house, that's all.
I'm on that commission.
Oh, you are?
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah,
yeah,
there was no need because it is not
No.
visible from the road.
right.
yeah.
Okay, you guys have any more questions? You all
No,
set?
thank you. Yep.
Okay, is there anyone from the public wish to speak for or against this application? Is there anyone from the public wish to speak for or against this application? Anyone from the public wish to speak for or against this application? Hearing none, do I have a motion?
motion to close.
Is there a second?
I'll
Close the
second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, next application is application 2021-5 of Donald Fitzgerald for a
Okay,
variance.
thank you.
Thank
Okay,
you.
for a variance of 23.2 feet to a front yard property line setback for an existing addition to a two-family home and a 6 by 12-foot deck at 59 Fairview Avenue, Oakville, in an RG General Residential Zoning District. Jeff, you want to read the legal notice?
Sure. The zoning board of appeals, town of Watertown, will hold a public hearing at 7 PM on Wednesday, May 26th, as a web-based meeting to hear and act upon the following application. Application 2021-5 of Donald Fitzgerald for a variance of 23.2 feet to a front yard property line setback for an existing addition to an existing home and construction of a 6-foot by 12-foot deck to be located 1.8 feet from a front property line at 59 Fairview Avenue, Oakville, Connecticut, in an RG residential zoning district. Section 12.8 of the Watertown zoning regulations requires a minimum of 25 feet front yard setback for a principal building in an RG residential zoning district. At this hearing, interested persons and written communications will be heard. A copy of the application is on file in the Planning and Zoning Office, Watertown Municipal Center at 61 Echo Lake Road in Watertown, Connecticut. This is dated in Watertown, Connecticut on the 13th day of May, as well as the 20th day of May of 2021. Edwin Dalton, Secretary of Zoning Board of Appeals.
Is there anyone here to represent the applicant?
Yes. Yes.
State your name and address for the record.
Donald Fitzgerald, 99 Pine Street, Naugatuck, Connecticut.
Can you tell us what you're doing and what your hardship is?
Yes, I'm adding on to this two-family house that I have here. The existing house was too close to the property line to begin with. So I'm looking to put a 8-foot by 12-foot addition on it. And I'm eliminating a deck that I went before you gentlemen before to try to come up with a resolution. So it doesn't go as far along the parallel to the Fairfield Avenue. So it's a lot less scope of variance, basically. The current zoning rules, this house was built before this current zoning rules. So, so I'm taking off the deck that's there, that's 12 by 12 on the first floor, eliminating that. I'm looking to put just a 6 by 12 deck on the second floor for entrance to the second floor.
Is this the house you came to us before? That's an illegal two-family house?
I came to you before, but I believe it's a legal two-family house.
Legal or illegal?
I believe it's legal.
So you got
it's always, to my knowledge, it's always been a two-family house.
Is that true, Musa? Do you know?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, should I explain this?
Please.
Yeah,
If you remember, Mr. Fitzgerald came to the Zoning Board of Appeals with a variance application, and the Zoning Board of Appeals on August 28, 2019 denied his application.
right.
Because you said that he did it on his own without going to the building department to get a permit, and you didn't know that how safe this building is. That's why you didn't grant it the variance.
Right.
And what happens if for a year, nothing happened, and recently, because you asked me that what happened to this application, and I talked to the building inspector, and he sent a notice of violation to the owner of the property and told him to come and talk to the building department to see if he can get a building permit for what he did. And then Mr. Fitzgerald came to the building department and he talked to the building officer. Unfortunately, if the building officer doesn't have a zoning permit, he even doesn't have the right to go inside the property to inspect to see if that is done correctly or not. Then he came back to my office. He said, "What can we do?" I said, "I cannot issue a zoning permit without a variance." And with the building inspector, we sit down with the applicant to find a solution to see what is the best way. It is like the first application that I thought that I was thinking of a solution without a variance. This was the same thing. We said, what is the best solution for this problem? The building inspector and myself, we came out with this idea that Mr. Fitzgerald should remove that huge deck that he added to the side of the house and only put a patio there, not a structure, because the way it was built, it is not good. And for the second floor, for an egress, he can just have a small deck with a stairs to come down. And he's agreed to do that. There is a little difference between this application and the one that you denied it, because by zoning regulations, within 6 months, he cannot come back to you for the same variance. And now it is more than a year, he has the right to come back to the Zoning Board of Appeals for a variance. But this time there is a little difference, this application compared to the other one. He removed the deck, he put just a small deck for the second floor, and now the addition is only a little bit further away from the property line, just a tiny, like probably 2 inches. But the entire house is only 2 feet from the front property line. Everything is in line with the existing building. The point is that if you agree with me and the building inspector, that by granting this variance, you actually allow the building inspector to go there and check everything that Mr. Fitzgerald did to make sure that it is safe. If it is not safe, then the building inspector will tend to tell him to remove whatever he did without a permit. In order for him to go there, he needs a zoning permit. In order to issue a zoning permit, I need a variance, or the owner needs a variance from you. And I don't know what to do with this. And our recommendation is to you from myself and the building department to, if you agree with us, just give him the variance that the building inspector go there and inspect everything that he did without a permit.
Yes, I want to submit a plan and move forward, try to rectify the problem. That's what I want to do.
And if you look at the packet, there are two drawings. One is the existing, one is the proposed. If you can compare those, and you can see.
You see, that was a two-family house?
That's, hold on a minute. The problem I have is we didn't even get involved with a deck. Our thing was, refresh my memory, fellas, that this was an illegal two-family house that he did himself without any permits, from what I can remember.
What he did, I checked with the assessor's office, and they said that it was an existing two-family home, but it was a small two-family home. There was a deck, but the owner enclosed the deck and made a part of the house without a permit, and then added an additional deck to the house. And this time what we recommended that he removes the new deck and put just a second floor deck for egress only.
Well, I think you guys are putting the cart before the horse. I don't know if you guys would agree. Shouldn't the building inspector, he has the authority to go over there and tell us if that house is, if they come back and tell us, yeah, this house is okay if he does this, this, and this, then we grant the variance. But we grant the variance, and how do we know? How do we have any leverage on this thing once it's gone?
My recollection is when the addition was made to the house, there's no real footing or foundation underneath
Right.
the area just before the deck.
That is why this variance will give an opportunity to the building inspector to go there and check everything. And if not, then it will stay the way.
Why can't the building official go today without to see the status of what was constructed?
We were born, but not born yesterday.
He said that he cannot do the inspection without a zoning permit, and I cannot issue a zoning permit.
Oh, so the building inspector is a zoning officer now. Beautiful.
I believe I have to submit a plan of what was done. If you recall, what happened was the guy that did the addition said he got the permits, and he didn't get the permits, and he's totally messed me up here. So what I want to do is submit the plans, but I can't do that unless I get the okay because of the setback apparently.
Well, sir, we'd like to help you out, but generally, when you're going to build a house, tell me if I'm wrong, what you do is you submit plans to the zoning office before you even get a permit. So now we're doing this backwards. You already made mistakes. The house is technically, in our mind, illegal. So what I would suggest is I think the building inspector, and I think my other fellows on the board are thinking the same as me. Go to the building inspector and have him check this house out. He has every right to go there, and so does a fire marshal. And then come back to us and say, okay, this is fine, and this is what he's going to need for a variance. Because just like Mr. Gianetto, when we were there, that building is not safe. And this was our concern. Our concern was we were there, we looked at it, the building, and part of our charge is safety. That building, that porch, I wouldn't even go on that second floor porch because there's no footings. There's nothing.
The other thing, Rick, is, the concern is if the building official goes and does the inspection and deems it unsafe and part of the house needs to be removed, there may be additional variances that are required for them to correct the building to code.
Right.
I'm not sure.
You don't need variances for the building code. If there is any variance to the building code, he will ask the estate to give variances.
No, what I'm saying, Musa, if I've been here a long time. This is the first time I've heard that we have to grant a variance before the building official can go see if the building is built safely and to code.
It's not, your variance allow me to issue the zoning permit, and the zoning permit allows the building inspector to go and do the inspection. Your variance doesn't allow the building inspector to go.
Okay, all right.
If you grant the
Well, I'll tell you
variance,
what, I got a lot. I'm
issue
gonna
a
go build
zoning
a
permit.
house tomorrow. Hey,
So-
Vinny, I got a lot. I'm gonna go build a house tomorrow. I'm not submitting any plans. After I got the house built, then I'll go see the zoning officer
I-
and the building inspector.
I would,
I'm trying to rectify this. I know
I
that
understand.
was done wrong because the gentleman
Right.
that did the addition said he got the building permits.
I
and he
understand that, sir.
didn't. So,
But the
and
problem we
that's
have,
what-
we don't want you to go further wrong. We don't want you to
Yeah,
go further wrong.
right, well,
What should be done here, we're all been on these boards a long time, and most of us are even in the trades. What you normally do is you go to the zoning office and you submit a set of plans. Then you go to the building inspector and if it's approved, then you get a permit. Right now, you're asking us to give you a zoning permit. Well, we don't know what you have. You got footings that are unsafe. You got a lot of problems over there. So what
well,
we
the deck is coming down. The deck is coming down.
Good.
And
Right.
then I'm gonna
Right.
submit the plans to the building inspector and he's got something to go with. I'm taking care of it myself. I relied on somebody to do it and it was a big mistake and I recognize that. So I'm just trying to,
Well, we don't want it to happen again. This is what we're
Well,
trying to tell you.
yeah, well, it's not gonna because that's why I'm here again. That's why I'm with you guys to try to get this
Well-
approved. And then I'm gonna go get the permits within the building department's gonna go through it with me.
I don't know how the rest of the board feels, but you notice the last plan we had, they showed footings, everything else. I don't know. I think I would, considering the way that place looks, I would like to see a set of plans with footings, where drainage is gonna be, the whole deal. Before, I mean, how do you guys feel? This seems backwards to me.
I think,
There's no question that it's backwards. I know that because the guy that that's why he probably didn't get the permit because he
No,
didn't do it
no.
correctly, you know?
What I'm saying is, like Jeff and the rest of the board is saying, that the building inspector, if it's already built, let's just say it's like a deck that you didn't get a permit. Well, what we normally do is, before we approve it, or if we approve it, we have the building inspector go out there and make sure that your footings are down 3 feet. That has no footings, it's got nothing. So I think we'd be more comfortable if the building inspector would go out there and tell us exactly what's going on with that building.
We approved this, we could be liable, I think,
Yeah,
big
yeah,
time.
and they'll go again, there you go, that zoning board of appeals, they just approved
You
it.
may be ripping,
Well,
you may be ripping that old deck down and putting up a smaller deck to get access to the second level. But the fact of the matter is, from my recollection, the end of the house that was enclosed didn't have a footing and a foundation.
Right,
no, that does. It does. It's a block.
Honest to-
yeah, we
we
saw the
approved
blocks,
the
they're laying on the
variance
ground.
for-
Oh, no, they're not. I know for a fact they're not.
so,
You know, there was a
Jack
footing and there's those blocks. It was a block wall was constructed. I know for a fact. I saw that. But and that's why I'm going to have it all inspected and checked out. I want to do it right. That's why.
so Mr. Fitzgerald, would you have any objections to the building inspector going into the home now and inspecting the house to determine for us the exact condition of the house?
And what you're
No.
gonna do.
No, and
Okay.
and anything that he says, because there's already stuff that I know that I want to fix because this guy was a ham and egger that did this for me. It cost me a lot of money and I'm going to fix it myself. So I know I'm going to do it so that it's right.
Well,
I thought he had been doing it with the.
So I would
building
like,
department.
I would propose we do another site visit because, being able to see exactly what the applicant would like to do. And between now and the site visit, we'd like the owner to request the building inspector to go through the house, specifically the decking that was enclosed, and provide us with a synopsis of what needs to be done.
And Mr. Chairman, there is a letter from the building inspector in your packet. Do you want to read that into the record?
Yeah, yes, I'll read. This was,
Jeff, read it.
this is dated
That should be.
May 20th of 2021, 59 Fairview Avenue of Watertown. To whom it may concern, the building work that has been done at this property at 59 Fairview Avenue cannot be inspected and approved until a building permit has been applied for and approved for the work. In order for the building permit to be approved, the building department requires zoning approval for work to be done and/or already completed. This is signed by Jeffrey Bio of the building official.
But here's the key words here.
In order to get
The
a
key
zoning
word,
permit,
Wait.
And approved. No, wait a minute. It said to be inspected and approved. We're not asking for him to approve anything.
That's correct.
We're asking for him to inspect something.
That's right.
but again, in order to get a zoning permit, we need a set of plans. What exactly he's gonna do? Are there footing drains? What is there?
Okay, just for clarification, you want to basically table this, go for a site walk, and I should ask the building inspector to go to the site with the owner and come out
Yes.
with a checklist to see what has to be done? This is what you
Yes.
want?
Yes. Bare minimum, bare minimum.
We need to do another inspection ourselves or another site walk because we've been
Yes.
there.
Okay, you can have a site walk before the meeting next month.
We're waiting
Yes.
for the building inspector to tell us yes or no for, well, the conditions of the home before we can say, yeah, tear down the deck and, the variance is approved, build a smaller deck.
Right.
Okay, in that case, you can continue the public hearing.
Okay.
Make a motion, we continue the public hearing.
Do I have a second?
What was the
Second.
motion?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you, Don, but we're looking out for you.
I realize I'm just here to do what has to be done to rectify
Right.
this. It's been
Right.
years. It's been a nightmare for me. Trust me, I pay taxes on the house every year. I want to fix it for the neighborhood. I want to do what I got to do. That's all I'm looking to do, Okay,
Okay,
whatever you can do to help me, I appreciate it.
yes, okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, on the next thing on the agenda here is acceptance of minutes.
Make a motion to approve.
There a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, old business, application 2021-3 of Matthew and Jessica Lemos for a variance of 15 feet to a front yard property line setback for construction of a 28 by 10 inch by 28 attached garage, new mudroom and new porch to be located 20 feet from a front property line at 103 Jenkins Street, Oakville, Connecticut, in an R 12.5 residential district. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Okay, now that we have a motion on the floor in a second, let's discuss this.
Well, I'm swayed by the fact the driveway is in the wrong place on I guess what would be the side yard, but the front yard. I like the fact it's coming around away from the intersection. And I think we should try to accommodate. I think there's confusion between I read the minutes and I was confused too. I think we can give them the 5 foot on what would be called the side. We'll have to clarify that, as well as the 15 feet on if it's the side of front, what would be the front, and let them build the garages needed. You can't make it 21 feet. It won't work. You can't shrink a car.
They don't need 5 feet, they need 1.6 foot.
Okay, whatever it takes to accommodate them, so it's 5 feet from that side property line.
Anyone else?
1.6 foot from the side property line, because they already have a,
Okay, if that works out
Variance, yeah.
5 feet from the property line, that's what I'm looking.
Anyone else from the commission have any more to say?
We've had many applicants come in front of us that are looking for a variance because they built their house and the structure is up and they're too close. They realized during the during their final survey that it was too close to property lines. You know, I think, you know, I don't want to violate any statutes. I want to make sure that we do it do this legally. But, you know, they definitely have a hardship with being that it's on a corner lot. And I think what they're doing is reasonable. It's not, you know, not exorbitant. And somehow we need to help them accommodate what they're trying to do.
Mr. Chairman, because Mr. Franson mentioned that to make sure that it is legally, I make a recommendation that you can approve this. And with that condition that they talk to their architect that if they don't have that 1.6 foot, can they make that change? If not, then I will issue the zoning permit for them with a condition that they apply for another variance next month for 1.6 foot. Then you can issue that.
And
That will cover your legal part of it.
okay, and
Want
would
to
they have,
change your,
No, basically
I
you
mean, we-
approve this application.
Yeah.
And
No,
they
but
should talk to their architect and to see if they reduce the width of the garage 1.6 foot, is that going to work for them or not? If the architect said, no, it doesn't work, they put another application for next month for 1.6 foot variance to that sideline. That will cover your legal part of it.
okay, how do we put that in a motion?
But I will issue the zoning permit for them to start building.
How do we put that in a motion? Who wants to put that in a motion?
I'm confused. I'm confused. How would
Go
they
ahead.
get, I'm confused. What would happen? How would they start construction? They would still have to wait.
Okay, let me explain and then you make the motion. Their application is for a variance of 15 feet to front yard property line setback.
yes,
There is no doubt, I'm 100% agree and you are agree, we give them that variance. On the side, they should talk to the architect to see if that application, if the width of the garage is 1.6 foot narrower, can they do that? If not, then at the next meeting, they can submit an application for 1.6 foot variance and then you grant that variance and they all be covered for both sides. And
Okay.
you can waive the application fee. They don't have to pay a fee.
that's what I would, so.
I was just gonna say that. Could we waive
So
the
I'll
fee?
make a motion,
Go ahead, Jeff.
make a motion for application 2021-3 for 103 James Street, that we approve the application in front of us for the front.
15-foot variance.
15-foot variance, thank you, Musa, 15-foot variance. And that the applicant will check with their architect and a zoning permit will be issued.
Yes.
And the applicant will check with their architect to see if a 1.6 foot reduction in the garage is possible. And if not, then they are to come back and put in another application. We will waive the application fee for the variance needed for the garage.
Yes, that covers your legal part and also the zoning part, everything.
And that also gets them in line for their contractors and all of that.
Yes, they do. I will issue their zoning permit.
Do we have a second on that?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay,
Thank you, Musa. Nice
Thank you.
job. Nice job.
okay. Next, we have review of zoning board of appeals bylaws. Not everybody's here again. So maybe in person next month, we'll go over the whole thing. What do you think? Cap?
That would be great. Roseanne sent out that, we're going to meet in person. I think
Yes.
more people would be able to come, and I think that makes sense.
Yes.
So I'll make a motion, we table.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, new business, motor vehicle application number 2021-2 of Keyless Auto LLC for approval of location for a used motor vehicle dealer and motor vehicle repair at 909 Main Street, Watertown, Connecticut, in a BD Downtown Central Business Zoning District.
What's that, the old Travers building?
Yes.
Then it's just a formality because they were a business repair shop.
Mike, that Jason is the applicant. You can allow him. Jason in the corner.
Oh, I was just gonna say that. Is there, well, do we have to read the legal, is there a legal notice on this,
There is
Musa?
no legal notice because there is
Okay.
no public hearing for this.
Okay, Jason, are you here to represent the applicant?
Ma'am? Yep,
Go ahead. Could you state your name and address for the record?
sure. My name is Jason. Last name is Kuiles, Quiles. I'm looking for approval for automotive business at 909 Main Street and French. It was like I believe Roger said before, it was already an automotive repair business, for most of its life. So hopefully.
Zeno was in there, right?
It's been quite a few different
Yeah.
places over the years, but most recently it was Boomer McLeod.
Right.
It's been a used dealer. It's been Travers. It's been a few different
Right,
places.
right.
over the years, so.
Okay.
And you're doing exactly the same thing as all those other folks were doing.
Well, hopefully, hopefully I'll still be there.
No, that's great. No, we like to see businesses come into town and I think it's great.
Great.
Okay, so do I have a motion on the floor?
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
I just want to add something to the motion. You are approving a motor vehicle repairer and also a motor vehicle dealer for used car.
Right,
Right, that's correct. Yep.
right. Okay, there's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. You're all set.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Good luck.
Okay, application number 2021-4 of Kyle Silva and Alice Forrester for a variance of 5 feet to a side yard property line setback for construction of a 19.5 by 12-foot addition to an existing deck at 182 Woodruff Avenue in an R10 residential zoning district. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, this chair is pretty cut and dry. They're just putting a deck on the back of the house. They already went to historical people and they're all set with it.
Yeah, the lot is very, very small.
Yes.
They're constrained on what they can do. As they explained to us, the deck will be no wider than the house, and the existing house is 5 feet from the property line, so
Yeah, so
it
they're all
it
set.
makes sense. Yes.
So their hardship is topo of their property. Okay, so there's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Next, application number 2021-5 of Donald Fitzgerald for a variance of 23.2 feet to a front yard property line setback for an existing addition to a two-family home and a 6 by 12-foot deck at 59 Farview Avenue, Oakville, and an RG general residential zoning district.
Motion to table.
One second. I just want to. So, okay, go ahead.
Motion to table.
And is there a second?
Okay, I just want to add something to the motion.
Sure.
You table this and also you want to hold a sidewalk
Yes.
the night of
Yes.
the meeting, like 5 o'clock is good?
Yes,
5 o'clock is good.
5 PM, okay.
Yes.
And also you want the building inspector to go there and come out with a checklist for you.
Yes,
right.
please. Yes.
Okay, very good.
When did that get turned into a two-family house?
That's. See, this thing says a setback for an existing addition. See, that's, even when they came the last time, there was nothing mentioned about a deck. This addition is where but anyway, we'll resolve it.
Yes.
We
Okay,
should find a solution because that building is sitting there and.
no, I know, right? It's a mess and it's not safe.
If it is dangerous and the building inspector is agreed, they should fix it to make sure it is safe.
Yes, it's not safe. Okay, there's motion in a second, so we're all in favor? Aye,
Aye.
aye. Okay. Next item is communications and bills. There's none. Do I have a motion? to
Mr. Chairman,
adjourn?
on communications and bills, I asked you to
Oh,
add 2 items.
That's right. Oh, I'm
And I
sorry.
tell you what the items are. Item 1 is a memorandum from Mark Ramo, Watertown Town Manager regarding boards and commissions
Right,
in-person meetings dated May 24, 21.
And I
Just for
also,
your information, next month meeting will be in-person meeting.
right.
Because it's starting June 7, we can have those meetings.
Do you want me to read that into the record?
No, it was just for your information. The other one I will tell you to add is
But I do-
town engineer regarding 215 North Street dated May 26, 21. If you can read that letter. into
Yes,
the
I will.
record, that would be good.
I was just gonna do that next.
Okay.
Okay, this is from the,
First, I'm sorry, make a motion to add these two items on the agenda.
yeah, I'll make a motion. I'm gonna read this and then I'll make a motion to add the two items. Once we read it, okay. All right, this letter comes from the town engineer. It's dated May 26, 2021. To the Watertown Zoning Board of Appeals from Paul Benovich, town engineer. Second driveway at 215 North Street, Watertown. Dear Commissioners, at the request of Musa Rafferty, I am writing this update on the status of the above matter. On February 4th, 2021, Roy Kavanaugh wrote a letter to Mr. Leonard Stolfi, the property owner of the above property. Mr. Kavanaugh itemized the violations for Mr. Stolfi and attached the pertinent sections of the Watertown ordinance, which list the procedures for removal of the illegal construction and the penalties of $100 per day if the matter isn't unresolved, if not removed by June 1st, 2021. At this point, we can only wait until that date has passed before notifying the town attorney to proceed with the legal avenues open to the town under ordinance. Feel free to contact me if you have any questions regarding this matter. And it's also been CC'd Roseanne D'Amelio, Land Use Administrative Assistant. Okay, that's it.
Yeah, that goes back to 2019.
Yeah.
Because we turned that down
Right.
and we sent a letter to him and nothing's been done for over a year. So I think he ought to be backtracked on $100 a day.
We will say, but if he doesn't remove those things by June 1st, then they will give it to the town attorney to take legal
Yeah,
action.
let him take care of it. Okay, so I have a motion and so we read those two. I'm gonna put this into the record.
You need a motion to add those two items?
Looks, I got it.
Okay.
Do I have a motion? Do I have a motion to accept these two letters?
Yeah, motion to accept the letters to the
Is
record.
there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, Jessica Lemos is waiting. She wants to talk. Do you allow her to talk?
Where is she? I don't see her.
We see her name. Is that,
I
She's
see a
in the
Nancy,
screen.
I see a Nancy Vaughn.
we see Jessica on the screen. I don't know if she wants to talk or.
Jessica, are you there?
Yes,
Jessica,
sorry, I was muted by the, whoever was controlling the meeting,
Okay.
organizing the meeting.
Go
So,
ahead.
I just, thank you guys. I'm, obviously if we have to move forward with another, application, that's what we're going to have to do. Honestly, it's a little disappointing at this point because we've already been through 2 months of meetings and thought we were doing everything the right way. But I want to make sure that you will need I want to make sure that this time there is no misunderstandings and no mistakes. So you will need, what do you need? Is this a conversation I have with my architect? I need to have it in writing. I need to submit a new application and send new letter. Like, do I have to resend $72 worth of certified letters to my 6 neighbors?
No,
Do I have to submit the application by the first Friday of June,
no,
next week? So I want to make sure that I follow all the rules. Will I get that information from Musa?
yes,
Yes, please come and see me. Don't, and if I'm not in the office, just make sure that you call that I'm in the office, you talk to me.
Okay, and when is the next meeting date?
June 23rd.
Okay, so before that date, I need to make sure that the architect takes a look. And if it's not reasonable to make a change by the 1.6 feet shorter, then what does the architect need, or what do I need to submit on behalf of the architect
a
to
letter.
verify?
He should write a letter to the zoning board of appeals and explaining that why it is not possible, why it's not doable.
That's all.
Musa, this is Matt Lemos. Just had one quick question. When you say 1.6 feet, is that one like 1.6 feet, or is that 1.5 feet? Because what
I
does
think
1.6 feet run out to be?
I think it's
1.6 feet is a little bit more than 1.5 feet. It's actually, yes, it's a little bit more than 1.5 feet. It's not 1 foot and 6 inches.
So about 19 inches?
Yes, almost, yes.
Okay, and that is, being able to maintain what we have, just making it shorter. If he's unable to do that and accommodate the railing and be able to, you know, use a vehicle in that space and open a door and everything else, he just needs to put that in writing.
Just write a letter that if it is doable, then you don't have to do an application. If it is not, then he should explain why it is not, and then the board will give you that variance.
right.
Okay,
And we will send the notice to your neighbors, don't worry about that. Because they waived the application fee, we will do that for you.
okay,
You just have to get your architect to make the decision whether it could go or not go. And then
But they
we'll
can
take
also,
it from there.
but they can also get in line for construction. I mean, they can
Yes.
also get,
Yes,
Right.
they can do that.
yes.
so,
I-
okay, so we
He's
could
gonna-
move.
Moose is gonna
forward.
grant you a zoning, Moose is gonna grant
You
you a
have to
zoning.
come, you have to come to my office because there's few things to do. I have to put a legal notice in the paper next week. And then I will send you a letter explaining to you, there is 15 days appeal period from the day that the newspaper, the legal notice goes in the paper. Those are state statute requirements that we cannot change. If you come to my office, I will tell you what is the next step for you.
Okay, thank you.
But you essentially have it, can get in line with your contractors and
Yes,
we're not holding you up. That's the.
Yes.
right.
Okay,
So I'm sorry, so just to be clear, so if there is no room to reduce it down based on what the architect and the builder is saying, they could start work as long as he's submitting that paperwork, that letter along with our application?
I will
Yes.
issue a zoning permit for you in that case, subject to applying for another variance.
That's all.
got it.
I will take care of it. You just come to the office and see me and talk to me. I will take care of it.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Well, before that, Rick, when's that site walk for Fairview Avenue? That night of the meeting?
Yeah,
Yes,
we will send you a copy of the agenda.
5 o'clock.
Don't worry about it. Yes.
Okay,
okay. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
no moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Good night, fellas.
Hey, the storms are going through it. Storms are going through. I lost power twice already here. And,
Oh, boy.
There you go.
yeah, so they're-